Our overarching research question is, how is social media and technology shaping the experiences of Australian high school students? We chose this because technology now affects almost every aspect of school life, including learning, behaviour, well-being and communication. So it's essential for teachers to understand both its benefits and its challenges. To break this down, we developed 4 supporting sub-questions. The first explores the psychological and social effects of social media, helping us understand impacts on student well-being and relationships. The second looks at digital inclusion, which highlights issues of access and equity. The third focuses on policy and ethical concerns, guiding safe and responsible technology use. The fourth examines social media's role in school communication, showing how it can strengthen connection and community. Together, these sub-questions give us a clear, balanced picture of how technology shapes student experiences. Finally, the action research cycle, plan, act, observe, reflect, allows teachers to test strategies, collect evidence, and make informed changes. This ongoing process helps us continually improve teaching and learning, especially in technology-rich environments.
For our intervention, we developed the Digital Wellbeing and Inclusion Program. And the reason that we created this is because we found that throughout all 4 of our literature reviews, that technology affects students in 4 interconnected ways. So well-being, their access to digital tools, their communication with school, and the ethical environment around technology use. So what we realized very quickly is that you can't address one of these areas on its own. If a student doesn't sleep because they're up all night scrolling on their phone, it's obviously going to affect their learning the next day. If another student can't do homework because they only have access to a mobile phone at home, this of course affects their learning as well. If families are missing school information because it's posted in ways they can't access or don't understand, it also affects learning. And if there are ethical gaps around privacy and professional boundaries, that affects trust. So all 4 areas are connected, and so our intervention starts with something that we're calling the Digital Access and Wellbeing Audit that I will discuss in the next slide. So this audit is the plan stage of the action research cycle. So instead of assuming what the issues are, the audit takes a structured look at the 4 areas we researched. So the digital wellbeing aspect, the audit looks at how students' technology use affects their mood, their focus, and especially their sleep and daily functioning. This gives us a clear picture of the wellbeing challenges that show up before students even enter into the classroom. Then we have the digital access. It also examines the practical side, the quality of devices students use, how reliable their internet access is, whether digital resources are actually accessible, and whether students have the tools they need for learning. Then there's digital communication. So the audit will look at how students and families engage with school communication, whether messages are reached by everyone, which platform families use, and where digital communication might be excluding people. Then there's ethics and safety. So finally, the audit reviews the ethical side of technology in schools, things like privacy, the visibility of students' information online, and safe digital boundaries between teachers, students, and families. So by addressing all 4 areas, the audit becomes a really strong evidence base for what needs to change. So once we understand the situation clearly, we move into the ACT stage of the program itself. Digital wellbeing lessons will be implemented in schools. These lessons will help students understand healthier digital habits, so how to reduce passive scrolling, manage notifications, build better sleep routines, handle online conflict, and recognize comparison behaviors. Inclusion support will also be implemented to address access barriers. The program includes practical support such as in-school device access, offline alternatives when needed, the guidance for students who rely on phones or unstable internet, communication literacy. So we also teach both students and families how to navigate school communication clearly and confidently while making sure that families who don't have strong digital access still receive important information. Ethical practice, so we will embed ethical guidelines around privacy, digital footprints, and respect for online behavior to create a safer and more consistent digital environment across the school. So, how this fits into the action research cycle. Overall, the audit is our plan, the digital and inclusive program as our act, and the later stages, so observing what changes and reflecting on what still needs to work will guide how we refine the program in the next cycle. So, what makes this intervention effective is that it's holistic, evidence based, and flexible. Instead of focusing on just one problem, it recognizes that technology shapes learning in multiple ways, and it gives school a structured and ongoing way to address all of them.
When considering our proposed intervention, we were informed by literature on digital inclusion, social media in school contexts, and regulation of technology in education. The studies on the slide particularly influence our choice of intervention. Digital inclusion is defined as having the opportunity to benefit from digital technologies. This requires access to technology at a reasonable or no cost, and the ability and knowledge to use the technology. Multiple studies have found that digital exclusion disproportionately impacts students from marginalised groups. Thus, we must consider a student's context when considering their digital inclusion. Do they live in a rural or remote area? Do they have a disability? Are they from a low SES background? Are they Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander? Do they attend a public or private school? These contexts form the basis for repeating a digital inclusion access audit. This will inform our interventions to ensure their suitability for the student cohort. Similar actions have been done in the past. Marsden et al. 25 digital audit of 3 WA schools led to a significant intervention, including the provision of devices, internet, and a digital inclusion studio. Next, our intervention looks to regulate social media and the use of educational technology in schools. While school social media can improve parent involvement and encourage a sense of shared ownership between schools and communities, there are potential ethical issues ranging from privacy to cultural sensitivity. Pangrazio and Bunn, 24, reveal that many educational platforms used in Australia's schools collect excessive student data. We cannot have children's digital rights being poorly protected, with privacy policies lacking clarity and transparency. Our intervention proposes policy review in these areas to promote accessibility, respect for culture, and safety of the community and our students. Finally, the literature supports our call for wellbeing initiatives that support students who use social media. We understand that social media plays a key role in the daily lives of teenagers. It can help build identity, sustain friendships, and enhance access to information. But it can also lead to a variety of well-being issues, including peer conflict, mental health issues relating to body image, and impacting sleeping patterns. In line with Wilmore and Betts 2000, who emphasize that principles shape school digital culture, we believe that strong leadership leads to clear policies, adequate training, and safer, more meaningful use of technology across the school.
Our synthesized data analysis draws on 4 different datasets: interviews with teachers and parents, a digital access survey completed by students, a student wellbeing questionnaire, and teacher policy survey. Together, these sources provide a comprehensive picture of how technology is impacting communication, access, and well-being in the school community. First, in my interviews with 8 participants, 4 teachers, and 4 parents, 5 key themes were identified. Engagement and connection were the most frequent theme, raised by 5 out of 8 participants, representing 30% of all coded responses.
Transparency and trust appeared in 25% of responses. Ethical concerns, including privacy and digital professionalism, appeared in 20%. Digital equity barriers emerged in 15%, particularly around language, access, and internet quality. Lastly, clarity and timing made up the final 10%. These findings showed that while digital communication is valued, there are concerns around consistency, fairness, and ethical online engagement. Second, Dillon's Digital Access Survey highlighted major disparities in access to technology. 30% of students do not have broadband access at home. 5% have no internet at all. 25% experience unreliable internet. 12.5% rely solely on a mobile phone for schoolwork. 30% share devices with siblings or parents. And lastly, 80% of students do not know how to access technical support within the school. These findings can confirm that digital exclusion is a significant barrier to engagement and learning, particularly from students from lower income households. Tomei's student well-being questionnaire revealed strong patterns linking technology use to health and emotional well-being. 100% of students reported using their phone for more than 2 hours a day. 85% use their phone before bed, often late into the night. 70% rated their sleep quality as fair or poor, and 50% experienced anxiety or low mood several days a week. This highlights a clear connection between excessive screen time, disrupted sleep, and student well-being. Finally, Guy's Teacher Policy and Ethical Practice Survey added an important policy and professional dimension. According to the findings, 86% of teachers use tools like Google Classroom and Canva daily. 57% rate digital tools as highly beneficial for collaboration and creativity. However, 57% only somewhat understand the platform terms and conditions, showing confusion about data collection and privacy. 43% felt uncomfortable about how much personal data digital platforms collect. 57% believe current acceptable use policies focus more on control than student empowerment, and 57% believe bring your own device increases inequity. This shows that while teachers value digital tools, they have major concerns about privacy, transparency, and fairness in school tech policy. Bringing these four datasets together, we designed the Digital Wellbeing and Inclusion Program, which targets the issues raised across all datasets. A digital access audit to address inequity and ensure every student can participate meaningfully. Wellbeing workshops to support healthy screen time, emotional well-being, and responsible online behavior. A policy and communication review to make digital rules clearer, more empowering, and more transparent for teachers, parents, and students. These components map directly onto Chemist and McTaggart's action research cycle. Our combined data represents the planning phase, identifying issues across access, well-being, communication, and policy. Implementing the program forms the acting phase. Follow-up surveys and interviews across each stakeholder group will create the observation phase, allowing us to measure improvement. And finally, we'll evaluate outcomes in the reflection phase, refining the program for future cycles. Overall, the integrated data shows that digital well-being, equity, and ethical use are interconnected. By grounding our intervention in the lived experiences of teachers, parents, and students, our program becomes a targeted evidence-based approach to improving digital culture, access, and well-being within the school community.
To check whether our digital wellbeing and inclusion program is genuinely improving student outcomes, We'll be measuring progress across every stage of the action research cycle. In the plan phase, we set our baseline using surveys, interviews, focus groups, and by reviewing policies, communication records, and digital behaviour patterns. During the ACT phase, we monitor the intervention in real time through teacher observation checklists, participation records, weekly or fortnightly teacher reflections, and student learning artifacts. This helps see whether engagement, access, and well-being begins to shift. In the observe phase, we collect follow-up data and compare it with the baseline. We'll look for improvements in sleep, reduced inequality, fewer tech issues, and stronger digital confidence supported by analytics like classroom logins and submission rates. Finally, in the reflect phase, we take feedback from students, parents, and teachers, repeat our equity audit, and refine the program for the next cycle. We'll also use methods like triangulation and longitudinal tracking to ensure our findings are accurate and sustainable. This ongoing evidence-based process tells us clearly whether our plan is working and where we need to adjust for the future.
Efron and Ravid outline the 6 steps in the research action cycle on the diagram. This begins by outlining a problem or intervention, moves to designing and data collection, before ending the cycle by sharing the findings and implementing the study's recommendation or changes. Through their respective sub-question, all group members have completed a research action cycle. We have then come together to share our findings and identify a future educational intervention, thus restarting the cycle at step 1. As such, we are now at step 3 of the cycle, where we are furthering the design of our intervention so that it's ready for an impactful implementation.
To ensure ongoing improvement beyond the first cycle of our digital wellbeing and inclusion program, we will continue refining the intervention through repeated action research cycles. After the initial implementation, we will gather follow-up data from students, teachers, and parents using short surveys, classroom observations, and digital engagement analysis. We will compare this with our baseline data to identify what has improved and what still needs adjustments. For example, if the digital access audit shows that students continue to struggle with unreliable internet, we will work with the school to expand device loans, and provide clearer pathways for technical support. If workshop feedback indicates that students want more practical strategies for digital balance, we will update the content accordingly. We also plan to review school communication and and social media policies annually to ensure they remain ethical, transparent, and reflective of current technologies. Importantly, improvement will be ongoing, not a one-off, by embedding a culture of reflection in staff professional learning and student well-being programs. Ultimately, continuing improvement means using each new cycle of data to adjust, refine, and strengthen our intervention so that digital well-being, equity, and ethical practice remain central to the school's culture.